GameSir, please just change this logo to Steam, get rid of Microsoft bullshit, and make this controller strictly for PC. A lot of people will throw money at you, including me. Hi YouTube, I'm Mr. D, and today I'm gonna compare GAMESIR G7 Pro and GAMESIR Cyclone 2. A lot of people want to know whether they should buy Cyclone 2 or pay more and buy G7 Pro. I hope after watching this video you will know exactly which one you should buy, Cyclone 2 or G7 Pro. I'm gonna give some points in different categories, and in the end of this video I hope you will know exactly which one to buy and which one is better for you. Let's begin from pricing. For checking the price, let's go to GameSir official website. I'm gonna compare them with the same completation because G7 Pro includes the dock. The price for GameSir Cyclone 2 with charging station included is $55.99, so $56. G7 Pro costs $80. So in pricing category, 1 point goes to Cyclone 2. Now let's compare the packaging and what we have in the box. Here's the packaging of Cyclone 2. You have one box for controller itself and another box they give you just for charging dock because you can buy it separately. And as you can see, they cut lots of corners with this controller to make it cheaper. Even the inner package made of recycled paper. By the way, huge W GameSir for including these rings in a package. It helps you to protect sticks during transportation. Also here we have charging cable, but it's very hard to bend and it doesn't mean to be used for playing. Just for charging, some paperwork and the dongle. That's it. As for G7 Pro, this box is more premium, and here is what you get in a G7 Pro box. Controller itself with rings again, charging dock, 2 extra D-pads, 3-meter long cable. This cable is meant to be used for playing, because on Xbox it only can be played wired. Here's 2.4 GHz dongle, and also G7 Pro has removable faceplates and removable grips. This controller looks amazing inside. I love this design. And also you can remove the cable holder if you don't want to use it. In terms of accessories, 1 point goes to G7 Pro. Cyclone 2 has removable thumbsticks, but you cannot remove the D-pad. G7 Pro has removable thumbsticks as well, but they are super sturdy from the box. Also now we can have a look at GameSir newest TMR sticks. D-pad can be removed and interchanged as well. Now let's talk about features. Both controllers have 2 rear buttons, they feel quite the same, but G7 Pro has 2 more extra buttons on top. Triggers are exact same shape and they also have quite the same feel. Both are very well dampened. But bumpers design are a little bit different. Cyclone 2 has more clicky bumpers, while G7 Pro is a little bit more dampened and quiet. Also both controllers have trigger stops. But design-wise, I prefer G7 Pro because here it's very difficult to switch it to hair triggers. You need to use your nails, but lots of men don't have nails. Hair triggers feel almost the same, but for G7 Pro, it has less pre-travel. They have exact same button layout. Cyclone 2 has mechanical face buttons and mechanical D-pad, same for G7 Pro. But here's the difference. G7 Pro buttons is a little shorter to actuate. And also, while X, Y and A button feels the same, B button is different. Because on G7 Pro, if I press the button, it goes down gradually all over the B button. But on G7 Pro, you see what's happening. Inside is fine, top is fine, bottom is fine, but right side, I can't press it. And D-pad is very different. On G7 Pro, D-pad is very clicky, very easy to actuate. For someone, it may be even too easy to press. And it has almost no pre-travel. While on Cyclone 2, many people complain that the D-pad has lots of pre-travel. Check it out. And I still don't press the button. And only now. See? I finished the whole Axiom Verge 2 on this controller. For me it was great. It's not the best D-pad, but it certainly does his job well. And for G7 Pro I would say this D-pad is far more superior. So if you're choosing between them and you want some D-pad which will let you play retro games or fighting games or platforming games, definitely buy G7 Pro. Another feature some people may not like, some people liked it. Cyclone 2 has RGB and its faceplate is see-through. Also, for some reason, my Cyclone 2 takes a lot of time to turn on recently. So here is the RGB in grips on logo button, and here you have 4 LEDs showing you have different profiles. Here's the look from behind. But G7 Pro has only one LED light and it's in Xbox logo. Also, you cannot change the color of this LED, it's only white all the time. And now let's talk about docks. G7 Pro has smaller dock with the back, and you can also put dongle inside the charging dock. Cyclone 2 dock is completely different. In my opinion, it takes too much space on your desk, but the bottom part is aluminum. Here's the USB-C, and here you can put the dongle. I would say it depends which one you like more, but I prefer the smaller docks, because even though this dock made of aluminum and it's good quality dock, it's more difficult to put your controller on this dock. So for G7 Pro, I just put it on top and I'm done. For this dock, you need to first put your handles on the dock and then rest the controller. So I would say even though this dock feels cheaper and the plastic is more hollow, I prefer this type of docks. G7 Pro has a little bit more tense rumble, it's a little more strong. Also, it has 2 extra rumbles in triggers, while Cyclone 2 has only 2 linear rumbles. So rumble feel and rumble strength goes to G7 Pro. They both have 6-axis gyro. I tested the gyro in polling rate, and Cyclone 2's gyro is 125 Hz, while G7 Pro's gyro is 250 Hz. So gyro is definitely better on G7 Pro. And here's the controversial topic. Because of Microsoft licensing and restrictions, G7 Pro doesn't have macro and turbo functions, while cheaper Cyclone 2 has macro and turbo functions. So if you're regularly use macro and turbo functions, you definitely need to choose Cyclone 2. At the same time, they both have functionality to remap any button except for logo button and M button to any other buttons on the controller, and also to mouse buttons and keyboard keys. They both have 3.5mm jack. I've tested, and here are the results. For some reason, while being completely wireless with a dongle, Cyclone 2 has clicking noise while playing music, but this clicking noise disappears when you just connect the controller with USB-C. At the same time, G7 Pro sounds completely fine being wired and wireless. Cyclone 2 has 860 mAh battery. An official store said it will last up to 8 hours, but it also depends on whether you have LED and how strong is LED in vibrations. In my experience, this controller can easily go up to 8 hours while playing. G7 Pro has 1200 mAh battery, and the official store told me it will last up to 10 hours. In my experience, I played with this controller around 10 hours and it's still up and running, so I would say this controller will have more battery life than Cyclone 2. But let's be honest, almost nobody plays games 8 to 10 hours in a row, so all the time when you finish your games, you just put your controller on the dock and it's ready for the next day. So what about how they feel in hands? They both feel great, but G7 Pro has rubber on the back, while this front panel is plastic. So some people like rubber, no pun intended, some people don't, but I prefer rubber grips. But I don't like this gray rubber, I told you, it will get dirty pretty fast. In terms of connectivity, this controller can be used on Xbox, it's basically made for it. It can be used wired on Xbox, wireless and wired on PC, and you can use Bluetooth to use it with Android. I've tested iOS and macOS. It connects to Bluetooth, but it doesn't recognize it as controller, so you cannot use it for iOS and macOS. While this controller doesn't have Xbox support, it's superior in connection department. You can connect it to Android, iOS, Switch, PC, wired and wireless. So I would say in terms of connectivity, this controller gets the point. And in terms of build quality, both controllers feel great. So if you try to squeeze it, no sound. If you try to shake it, no sound as well. G7 Pro, if you squeeze it, no sound. Shake it, there's something inside. Oh, it was D-pad. So for build quality, I'll give 1 point to G7 Pro and 1 point to Cyclone 2. Also, G7 Pro feels heavier, and it is in fact heavier. It's 270 grams, while Cyclone 2 is 228. As for me, I don't like heavy controllers, but I don't like super light controllers as well. That was actually the reason why I sold my Apex 4, because it was too heavy for long gaming sessions. And also, one guy asked me on the Reddit whether is it comfortable to play while having ring on your ring finger, and I say yes, because when you play, your middle finger is actuating back button, not the ring finger. Nonetheless, I always take off my rings while playing games because I don't want to damage my controllers, and it actually feels a little bit weird. So in terms of features, I would say they are both at kind of the same level, while one has more features in one dimension and another one has more features in another dimension. There is no macro and turbo function, and here it has it, but everything else is better on G7 Pro. Regarding KontrolFreek support, only use PS4 and PS5 KontrolFreeks. Xbox KontrolFreek doesn't fit. They are too small for both of these controllers. So here's the PS4 and 5 KontrolFreeks. It fits well. You can even move them a little bit. Same for Cyclone 2. Feels great. Doesn't come out. And for example, here is the Xbox style KontrolFreek. You can maybe put it on it, but you will damage the stick. I won't recommend. One more point. Lots of people asked me about G7 Pro, whether these buttons are metal or not. No, there is no metal on this controller. Bumpers made of plastic, D-pad made of plastic. And also there is no internal restriction ring, only external, but it feels smooth nonetheless. Same for Cyclone 2. And if I try them without KontrolFreeks to feel the tension of the sticks, I would say they have around the same level of tension, but G7 Pro sticks feels smoother. They are both on the tensier side. They are not that loosey as, for example, DualSense, because this one is very loosey. And they are more tense than Blitz 2, because this one is quite loosey as well. But I actually like this one, even though I like more tensier sticks. And now let's talk about how they feel in games and have more tests, such as polling rate, stick resolution, and so on. There's a lot to cover, guys, so buckle up. During the test, you will see me always using these KontrolFreeks, because this is how I play games. And if I use this like this during test, it's not comfortable for me and it would screw the results. GAMESIR states that both of these controllers have same joystick resolution, and it's 4096 level for G7 Pro. And let's go down and check Cyclone 2. It says the same, 4096. But it is not true. They need to update this information because this is wrong. The actual resolution of the joysticks of Cyclone 2 are 2048 in fact. So GAMESIR, please update this information. I tested the pad of Cyclone 2 to see how it behaves. Accidental diagonals happens, but it's not that often, and diagonals themselves are a little finicky. Circle test shows good results. There is no stick rebound at all. And circularity test of joysticks shows perfect 0% error. Here I'm showing rear buttons turbo function in action. Inner and outer trigger dead zones are great on both triggers. Micro switches feel amazing on Cyclone 2. There's also no stick rebound occurring on G7 Pro. Bumpers feel very nice. AXBY are clicky and tactile with short travel distance. And D-pad on G7 Pro is absolutely amazing. It's clicky, very easy to press. For some people it might be too easy to press, but I love it. Triggers are great too, I'd say even a little better than Cyclone 2. No inner and outer dead zones noticed. Micro switch mode has even less pre-travel than Cyclone 2. Rear buttons are good, and circularity is perfect 0% error. Polling rate test results are 998 Hz with 99.8% accuracy, excellent performance. Then I've tested stick resolution, and it's indeed 4096 points, which makes them one of the best sticks on the market. By the way, it's normal that it shows lower number than 4000, it's never 100% accurate. Polling rate of Cyclone 2 shows 997 Hz. And here are results of stick resolution of Cyclone 2. As I said before, it's not 4000, but 2000. Now let's test sticks using aim lab test. I made 5 attempts for each controller, and firstly I tested Cyclone 2. First test is always rough, because you're just getting used to the controller. Second test, as you can see, was higher, 25k. Third try is 26k, even better. And the fourth try is 28k. These sticks are still one of the best on the market. And last try was 28k again. Now it's time for G7 Pro. As I said before, first try is always rough, 24k only. But on the second try I adjusted to the controller and set a new record, 30k. I was so excited I get lower results on the third attempt, 27k. And the next try is a new record again. Last try I beat my own record once again, almost 32k. These sticks are the best sticks I've ever used for shooting games, hands down. Then I've decided to try some racing games. I choose Wreckfest because it's more difficult to drive in it compared to Forza Horizon 5. Here's really nothing special to say about it. Both controllers are evenly great for racing games because their analog triggers are simply amazing. For D-pad test, I chose my favorite Contra of all time, Contra the Hard Corps from Sega Mega Drive. I lost countless hours playing this game back in the days. And here Cyclone 2 D-pad show its flaws. In this section I tried to do dash through the robot, but it didn't register. This D-pad is just okay, but G7 Pro was flawless. Same robot, dash is successful. G7 Pro D-pad is phenomenal in my opinion. Test showing the same information, by the way. For the next test I went to another banger of my childhood, WWF WrestleMania the Arcade, to beat the hell out of The Undertaker and Yokozuna. Both controllers were great in this game. And for the last D-pad test I went to Street Fighter 2. I was trying to perform Hadouken, G7 Pro was simply flawless. And again, Cyclone 2 D-pad shows its flaws. And for the last aiming test I went to the Destiny 2 Lost Sector. In this game, when you hit critical spots, numbers are yellow. When you miss the crit spot, numbers are white. So it will be easier to recognize when I miss the shot. Cyclone 2 feels great in FPS games. You can see I hit most of my crits. But when I tried G7 Pro, situation was exactly the same as in aim labs. Sticks are so snappy and fast. And you can see I hit even more crits than when I used Cyclone 2. In conclusion, D-pad on G7 Pro is much better. Regarding Cyclone 2 performance in FPS games, it's still great, but G7 Pro is even more superior. These are the best stick modules I have ever used, no doubts. After all this information and test, what's my conclusion? I would say if you don't care about money and you don't need turbo and macro functions, take G7 Pro. It's just better in all ways. But if you want to spend less money but have almost the same exact controller and you're not super picky on D-pad, take Cyclone 2. This is still one of the best controllers on the market for its price. Thank you everyone for watching, and in the future I will do more comparison videos between G7 Pro and other controllers. For example, I'll definitely compare this to the Blitz 2 because it has 2000 Hz polling rate. And I also want to compare this to new MobaPad Huben 2 because this one has capacitive sticks. No other controller have these sticks on the market for now. And I guess no need to mention, we'll compare it to Vader 4, the previous king of the kings in terms of price to performance. Man, I love this controller. And for people who asked about these grips, these are official grips from FlyDigi.